But how does immigration affect you personally?
Show me on the door where immigration touched you.
Is the question from one academic. And I thought we'd address it because, I mean, have you ever met an immigrant, Callum?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
No. This one academic is certain that you've never met an immigrant, even though, a quarter of the country is now immigrants. It's assumed that they occupy some sort of extra dimensional space in England. So they are here in the numbers. They're just not here on the ground.
So they're eldritch gods.
No. More like, asking the sparrows, have they ever met a vole? Right? It's like, look, you're technically in the same space, but like, come on, you never meet any of the voles on the ground. What are you talking about? You're a sparrow in the trees, right? That's how she's viewing immigration. It begins with this post by a pollster who, James Johnson ran Downing Street polls and is co-founder of a polling firm, right? And he tweeted this. He's like, look, one of the biggest fallacies in the commentary on public opinion immigration on here, Twitter, is the idea that the Conservatives are raising the salience of immigration. If they didn't talk about it, people would suddenly stop caring. Now, this is a canard that's been made by the left ever since the days of Enoch Powell. Jonathan Miller had a conversation with him, a journalist called Jonathan Miller, on some talk show. He was like, well, look, it's the charisma of your office that's making people worried about immigration. And Powell was like, no, they come to me and say, I'm really worried about immigration, and I'm not supposed to ignore them, right? Because I'm their elected representative. Anyway, he carries on. Immigration is raising the salience of immigration with huge numbers, with the deep unfairness of people coming in on small boats, and with the impact on communities around the UK. Distrust of the Tories on this issue is huge, and rightly so. And the only way to improve the chances of a Tory electoral recovery is to stop the boats. If the Conservatives do not deal with it, and clearly they need a different solution, they will pay the price. Yeah. And he posts something just below that. So you can see that concern about immigration peaked. People thought, okay, Brexit, got Brexit done. Eventually, when it goes down to January in 2020, you think, right, got Brexit properly done. And then immigration concern goes back up because, of course, the Tories just started raising the number of people. This is immigration mapped onto concern. So you can see where it goes down because you think, actually, this will be over. I mean, during COVID, surely there's not hundreds of thousands coming in. Spoiler alert, there were. But anyway. So this got a reply from a Dr. Charlotte Lydia Riley. Who is this one?
She's a woman.
She's not just a woman, right?
Oh, she's an associate professor at the University of Southampton.
I can see in her bio that she's got a book out with Penguin, which I'm sure is riveting.
Well, it's a book called Imperial Island, and it's got a review written by Owen Jones. So you know that it's woke. Sorry to interrupt the video, but I thought I'd announce that we have a new line of merch. This is our aesthetics collection. So I was thinking that in the face of AI art debasing the very concept of art, actually we'd do something quite positive. So we commissioned a series of paintings that were actually really beautiful and could be something that we could present outside of politics. So for example, we have this magnificent painting of a ship weathering a storm, which I thought was just really nice. And we have, of course, a glorious, sort of surrealist, giant white tiger drinking from a lake. But also there are other things that are just kind of interesting, such as the chap lost in cyberspace, or something that I thought might, in time for Christmas, make a great present for your mum or something like that. A beautiful cat lounging on some clouds. Basically, we wanted to do some stuff that wasn't just political, so things that were just nice and beautiful and interesting, because that's also a part of the world we want to curate. So you can go over to shop.lotuses.com. Buying the merch is a really great way of supporting us and means that we can live past demonetization. And I'm sure they make great gifts for the folks as well. But anyway, she says this. God, political scientists are woeful. What does immigration, quote unquote, look like for the British people, really? How do they experience immigration? How do people know who is an immigrant?
We've reached what is an immigrant now.
I know, we've reached, how do you know? When and how do British people interact with immigrants? What are those interactions like? That is just...
All the terror attacks, maybe?
or them coming into your shop and saying, "Can you take down that British flag? I'm offended by it."
It's reached my high street now, actually. A bunch of places have closed down. They've been replaced by coffee shop chains, or we've now got Pakistani vape shop, Polish shop, another mobile phone shop.
Just like Swindon High Street.
Yeah, and my one's normally quite a non-diverse, decent area, so it's kind of depressing.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, these are really easy questions to ask, right? I mean, the first one, immigration looks at many things to the British people, and most of them not actually positive. We get to see strange cultural practices, we get to experience foreign languages, and we get a sense of dispossession that we didn't actually have before. Swindon used to feel like my home, and now it feels like I'm in a strange alien place, like a Bazaar of Baghdad, and I didn't actually move. We experience immigration as an imposition, actually. This wasn't chosen. This was actively voted against. And just at every point, we've been betrayed. And yet, because we're good and kind people, we are continually tolerant of the erosion of our country for the benefit of foreigners. And we get to pay for the privilege. And this is to say nothing of the criminal activity of any of these groups, like migrant, just grooming gangs, drug running, anything. God, I don't want to go through the list.
Right? We're number 1 in Europe and number 4 in the UK for crimes committed by foreign nationals.
Yeah.
God bless Albania.
Number 3, we know who is and isn't an immigrant in the same way that literally everyone identifies who is and isn't a member of their own culture. I mean, how do the immigrants know they're not British? Like they turn up and go, "Oh, I'm from here. I was from here all along." No, it's because we look, think, speak, and act differently. Right?
The passport gate is also not a magic portal.
Yeah, we speak foreign languages. They worship foreign religions. They engage in foreign customs. They use foreign languages. They literally think in a different pattern to us. Actually, it's really easy to distinguish who's not from a place, and we're so good at it, we do it automatically when we hear someone speaking in a bloody Liverpudlian accent or something like that. Right, you're not from here. And that's fine.
You are indeed a foreigner. Get lost.
No, but we are so well attuned to figuring out who is from here and who is not. We can literally do it by the very sound of their voice.
This is why I said she's a woman in response to you asking me who she was, because this very much reminds me of the stupid "what is a woman" thing that so much of the West is occupied with. I mean, sitting around and playing that game of like, "Oh, I don't know what a woman is, you figure it out," and then running away. Or, "I don't know what an immigrant is," and then right-wingers have to spend time doing the whole, I know what a dictionary is.
But I thought I'd do it just because I'm very good at it, right?
Yeah, of course. But I just, it's a common tactic, I find. They're like, "Oh, what's a crowd? No idea. Anyway, I'm leaving."
But you're right as well, because it's a mandate to then outsource your judgment to an expert class that will tell you the new definition of what this is. And the expert class are the ones that are imposing mass immigration on us despite public opinion to the contrary.
Generous way of describing the Tory party. I wouldn't call them an expert class, but anyway.
What does she offer a definition of immigrant?
No, but we'll no, of course not.
Oh, well, good.
We'll go. So we're going to use my one, which is because that's what happens when they don't provide one themselves, right? So when do we ever interact with immigrants? All the time, because actually they live in the country. Like they're not actually the voles on the ground, and we're not the sparrows in the trees. When and how do British people interact with immigrants? I mean, like, has this woman ever left her house?
Actually thinking now, my landlord, my neighbours, the people I buy food from,
people who go to the toilet in the hallway.
Yeah. People who work in
which
the
is
building.
Yeah, stop making that up. Right, like
there's not many actual places in my life where I don't interact with immigrants.
Exactly, they're actually everywhere, because out of
my family aren't immigrants. There we are.
69, 70 million people in this country, only 44 million of them are English or Welsh. Right, so that means a quarter of this country is foreign, so it's hard to get away from them, right? And what are those interactions like? Well, often they're quite formal, actually. You'll notice that actually we've got quite standoffish, because actually we don't know who they are. We don't know where they've come from, because it's not like migrants coming from one particular place. If they were from one particular place, you could listen like, okay, well, they're from France or they're from Bangladesh or something. You could at least get to know something about their culture and get to know something about them. Okay, well, this is a kind of normal thing they're like. But actually, we've got the worst of all worlds, because they're from effing everywhere. And who knows? And a lot of them don't even speak English. And so actually those interactions are often just quite like, as minimal as possible.
They're at best transactional procedural, at worst antagonistic.
Yes. But anyway, she carries on, right? "You have no idea what the politics of immigration would look like without political media coverage of immigration, because those are things what constitutes most people's thinking about immigration in this country."
No.
So no. This is amazing, right? If the media or the political class didn't talk about immigration, you would literally never think it, and you would have no conception of it. As if it was 2008,
If we just shut our eyes and went la 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 la, we wouldn't notice reality changing in front of us.
Honestly, it took literally decades to get to the point where the immigration conversation has been mainstream like it is. Like, I remember how difficult it was to have any kind of conversation about immigration a decade ago, right? Like, it was something that literally only a racist would bring up. Like, Nick Griffin was the guy who talked about immigration, and no one else talked about it, and you were wrong to talk about it. And then when Tommy Robinson finally came along, it was like, hang on a second, there's a bit of a thing with these, Islamic ray guns. And everyone was like, what a Nazi, and it's just been vindicated at every point. No, there are real concerns. And that's what it was like. So the sort of early 2000s, if you want to know what it's like when the media and the politics don't talk about mass immigration, when mass immigration is happening, that's what it looked like. We don't need to imagine it. We don't need to be like, oh, no one has any idea. No, we lived through it. Charlotte, you bloody liar.
Right. Further your point, can we just talk about the Islamic ray guns for someone who might not know?
Yeah, sure.
So this slightly pissed guy on an EDL rally with, I think it was like a Newcastle accent,
yep,
went up to the media and was like, yeah, we've got to deal with Islamic law that they're bringing here, and we've got Islamic ray guns as well. And so there's this meme that still, even now, gets shared as like, oh, look at this idiot. He's talking about Islamic ray guns. He was saying Islamic rape gangs, yep, but because of his accent, even to this day, you'll get people from London, a lot of them immigrants as well, just being like, what a weirdo, what an idiot. And now we know it's a deadly, serious issue.
Yes. Anyway, she carries on. Almost all the immigrants in this country are here on expensive visas and employment.
That's not true.
I mean, I can literally see that they're not. Like, I can literally walk around and see that they don't have jobs because they're in the middle of the bloody day, every single day, just hanging around.
There was actually released today. Some MP tweeted out the record for the last 5 million immigrants who came.
Oh, yeah.
Last 5 years.
I haven't seen this.
Sorry, I didn't send it over.
Responded to it on the 4th. It wasn't today. It was
well, whenever. But he released that 15% of the people who came here for employment. So we're actually dealing with, what is that, 85%?
Yes,
of people who are not employed.
It was his last name's O'Neill.
Oh yeah, no, I did respond to it, didn't I? But yeah, so that's just not true. That's just a lie. British people are overwhelmingly not in contact with those poor souls trying to come here on small boats.
I walk past them to get lunch every day.
Where does she think they're housed? Like, we're paying for them to live in hotels in the middle of our cities.
I see them 4 times a day.
Yeah. Going to work, going to lunch, coming back, and then going home.
Yeah.
Like, every single day.
I recognize their faces. Like, we go to Spoons or I see them in the cafe, I recognize the face of the guy spending my money.
They are housed next to my favorite restaurant, right? Whenever I take my family there, I don't let my 14-year-old or my kids run around outside. I make sure they stand with me and then we go in the restaurant because there's a bunch of migrant men just hanging around, giving the eye. And it's like, not having this. So anyway, I love this. Like, she thinks that these people are just like stored on Mount Olympus or something. Like, they never come into contact with the British public. Yeah, that's why Lisa Nandy was like, yeah, none of them, get them out, Anyway, a lot of the time when British people talk about immigrants, they also mean just people of color in the UK. Oh my God. No, they're literally, Albanians. What color are they? So these are people from all over, and it doesn't matter what color they are. They're just all foreigners, right? This conversation about immigration is a conversation about race. There is no race of immigrants, you moron, right?
You ever seen a bunch of people going around, God, I can't stand Romanians because they're brown. Yeah. Like, no one says this. What are you talking about?
That's what I was about to say. The chief complaint of Brexit was the overwhelming number of European migrants pushing down native labour.
Yep, yeah, and that's totally true. And the Conservatives are like, that's a great point. We'll get non-Europeans in. That'll solve the problem. And discussions about numbers of migrants are descendants of Thatcher's talk of swamping. Good, let's revitalise that. When most people talk about wanting to get the number of immigrants under 100,000, they have little idea that this is about net immigration, or that includes students or whatever.
No, I know.
Yeah. It just sounds like a lot of people, but it's really a lot. But it isn't really a lot. Sorry. I think net 100,000 is still a lot. I'm sorry. But also, a lot of people who want to talk about wanting numbers of immigrants to go down really want Britain to be less diverse.
Yeah, but it's not the main reason I hate it. The main reason is because I want a house.
Yeah.
Literally, we aren't building enough for the native population to have a house. Never mind all the people you let in.
But it's a fair... Yeah, that requires Britain to be less diverse.
But once I've got the house, I want the area I've decided to live in for the rest of my life to stay ethnically as I brought it.
No, but I want to live in England.
Even
that's my point.
What it comes to.
No, but like at my age, you're looking for the house, but then there's no point in buying a house if that neighborhood becomes Indian whilst you're raising the kids.
Yeah.
I was going
Because
to say,
then
though,
you haven't brought where you live.
even hypothetically, if they could flat pack all the houses to accommodate all the migrants tomorrow, I would still hate it to the level
Yep.
that I do.
Yeah, of course.
Because the world on my doorstep has changed to be unrecognizable. So it's not just that.
Well, I just said, like, once you get the house, you're then living in India. So what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, now I'm not even wanting to live here.
And a lot of these people don't have much experience in living in places in Britain that are diverse. You've only been fleeing for it your whole life, Callum.
Bro, the more I travel,
And she finishes off with, and the questions asked at the top of this thread are the questions that any humanities scholar working on immigration would think about immediately. And then, when given this nebulous idea that British people want less immigration, what do people mean by that and why? We mean less foreigners because it's effing up our effing country. It's really that clear, Charlotte, right? It's really that clear. Just less of them, and that's it. End of discussion.
If you appreciated that episode from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that is on the website, such as the premium videos, such as British Men in America, in which we just discuss America. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Twitter at lotuseaters_com on Twitter. Thank you and goodbye.